My name is Jamal Oliver, and I am a grad student at Boston Architectural College, and also the program manager for historic preservation in Tuskegee, Alabama, um, for Tuskegee University, to make sure I get that right. My site this year was Ahmedabad, India, and I was there with the SEP Research and Development Foundation, specifically with CHC, which is the Center for Heritage Conservation. And my focus was mapping heritage sites for the old walled city of Ahmedabad. I've visited India before, and I really, thought that I had an idea of it, but I actually learned a lot while I was there. My goal, the goal in my internship was to map heritage sites in Old City, Ahmedabad, to create a digital repository of heritage sites, and to create a template using story maps. Um, and then also, we were basically trying to make a user interface or user-friendly interface. Um, so it'd be accessible to the public, and then we're going to create a workflow so they can be replicated in the future. Um, Again, having visited India, I really thought I had an idea of India, but I found out very quickly that India really is not homogeneous or monolithic in nature. India is really, truly a beautiful tapestry made up of colorful threads woven together to make one diverse people. There you find languages, styles, sounds, smells, food, craftsmanship, history, and heritage that truly make India India. In the words of one of my colleagues there, she told me one day at lunch, every gravy is not a curry, and so I found that out very quickly with India. So in order to map the old city Ahmedabad, the first thing I had to do was to learn the city, the old city. Ahmedabad was actually founded in 1411 by Ahmed Shah, and it grew gradually from there and then exponentially to what you see today. And so I started with the Heritage Walk that started with Badra Fort. Badra Fort was one of the forts built right around the early 1400s at the inception of the city. And what you'll find when you're taking this heritage walk into the old city of Ahmedabad is that the heritage, the history, and the present, they're all wrapped together very closely. Whereas a lot of our heritage may exist in isolation, you'll find that there in Ahmedabad is woven into the present tapestry of everyday culture and everyday, I guess, your everyday experience. Right when you leave Badra Fort, you go into Din Darwaja, or Darwaja, if I'm saying that right, Darba. And so you get there with these three gates, and these gates, they actually serve as the entryway into the city. And that main corridor that takes you through Old City Ahmedabad, it opens up right to you. I also went there to Jamal Masjid. These are you'll find that in India there are a few major religions where you have Hinduism, you have Islam, Christianity, you have Jainism, you have Buddhism, and much of the heritage is closely related, at least in its interpretive nature, to the connection that the individuals may have with their particular religion. So you see a lot of masjids or mosques, you see a lot of Hindu temples and things of that nature, Jain temples, and to be able to get into that culture and understand the differences was a wonderful experience. Here is the City Saeed Mosque. This is known for the tree of life that is on the side of it. And this right here takes you all the way through the city of Ahmedabad. Now, what you'll see in those different pictures I just showed you are pretty much the structures that build up the heritage and a part of the history, and that are hundreds of years old. But right in the middle of these streets are vibrant marketplaces that are open and operating every single day. And in the heart of the old city, you see commerce and community. The streets are filled with vendors by day, and then the area is transformed into a communal gathering spot at night. So each of these vendors that you see, they almost, for the lack of a better word, litter the streets all day as this wonderful, open, vibrant marketplace. But then at night, they break these down, and then it turns into like a communal gathering area, and you'll find a place like Manak Chowk that all of a sudden the city streets open up, and you're able to go into these little corridors, and you'll find places where you can, eat and kind of have recreational activities. You see kids running around having a good time, and this again in this cycle it transforms every single day. This happens every single day. Um, and then now, what you have to understand when you go into Ahmedabad is that there's these wonderful things called gates and poles, and you'll find that these hidden gems are pretty much the heartbeat of the city because the gates are transitional pathways to sub communities. Because on one front city block, you'll see marketplaces, you'll see heritage facilities, and all of this, but then right behind those, you have sub communities, and you'll see just out of nowhere, you see a gate and this traditional gate moves you into a community. And then you have poles. Poles are communities that are intricately woven into the fabric of the city. So poles are basically areas like what we would call neighborhoods, but they usually were associated with different type of laborers. You might have like Tongchani pole, which is pretty much the people who used to do mints. They would coin mints or mint coins, excuse me. Then you had different poles all around that were separated maybe by skill set, families, or different things like that. But they all came together to create this community, and they're right there, hidden treasures and gems that you would probably miss if you don't actually go into the neighborhoods and walk around. And then please know when you get into these polls, they have a very interesting story in that they have these gates that would tell you where you are and help you enter the poll. But when they had like enemies who were invading and different things of that nature, they had to have a way to get out. So they would have these back, I guess, exits that only the people in the poll would know. And it's very interesting how even the streets are made because it's open when you go into the marketplace. But then once you get into the polls, they get smaller. They get smaller and smaller. And before you know it, you'll be lost like I was in the middle of a poll. And this lovely lady came out and say, would you like to find your way out? And I was like, yes. And she pointed to this little doorway. And I'm like, what is this? But it was a back exit way that took you back to the main street. So in order to properly carry out the project, it was very important that I was able to get to know the area I was in. The polls past and present, you'll find that different polls had different, I guess, ways of operating, over in the past and in the present. And you have these different places here, like the Tongchani Pole now. In the past, it was basically residential space for mint workers. And then Tongchani Pole now is mostly a marketplace, for, it was marketplaces now for like imitation jewelry. When I got there, I was given different sets of data. One was the heritage structures for walled cities in Ahmedabad. Then I started working with maps of Old City, Ahmedabad. I took that and began to create a data collection in order to work with ArcGIS. For those who ever work with ArcGIS, before you know that the heart of ArcGIS is the Excel data sheet. And so from that, I was given information that was already collected. As you can see in ArcGIS, this red boundary is the wall of the Old City Ahmedabad, and the different colors that you see there are pretty much structures, heritage structures that have been documented by teams before me. And what I learned with ArcGIS, you have different, data sets. You have raster data, you have vector data, and with that, the vector data, you have point, poly, line, and polygon. And so what we found, we had a set of a data that was done with polyline, and we had to work with that to convert it to polygon, and then we used that to build our story. The ArcGIS software allows you to geo-reference your different structures, and it allows you to create not only just a map that is geo-referenced, but it allows you to also move it into story maps so you can illustrate that in a public interface. So that was pretty much the work that I did there. And this is just some of the data that was represented in Polyline, and we converted it over to Polygon because with the Polygon, as you'll know with ArcGIS, polylines are usually used for streets and different roadways or map or different things of that nature. But when you're dealing with a structure, you want to use Polygon in order to keep the attributes. If I were in the software itself, I could click any of these structures, these polygons, and it would give you all of the information about the structure, the year it was made, the protection designation, the materials, the current conditions, name, everything that you would need to know. We were able to build that into the software itself, and that's what pretty much was represented in the Excel worksheet that we saw earlier. So this is the work that I was able to do there. And you can actually see the attribute table there. So it tells you all the information, you'll want to know or need to know about those structures. Now, what we did not get to in this, we didn't get to at the end of it, but the story maps is basically, if you're familiar with it, you'll see the story maps can make pretty much like a website that's interactive that allows you to use these maps to tell stories. And that would be passed, that part that we passed off with the intern that's actually going, that are coming after me. Now, Old City Ahmedabad is just one site that, one, I guess, area that CHC is actually going to be documenting and creating a digital repository. We had other places and other structures we went to here. We were in Vaso, which is also in the state of Gujarat. I was able to go to Dharmaj. And one of the things you'll find that with Indian heritage is that the level of craftsmanship you see, the skilled work, the carvings, these are both wooden carvings. And it's just amazing, and to the point where it's almost not able to be replicated today because you don't have the skilled workers that you had before. But here I'm in Dharmaj, and I was able to see some havelis, which are mansions that were being preserved as well, or in the process of being preserved. Here, I was able to go to Jagat Fort. This is the Amber Palace. One of the most interesting things I saw in the palace is the fact that to your left, there is a bathroom facility that actually had about 102 bathrooms to take care of all those who live within that palace. This palace was, again, it is housed within Jagat Fort, and this is in the state of Rajasthan. And so I was able to visit that and to look at that as well. This is the team, a lovely team. This is the CHC, Center of Heritage Conservation team, along with the CAG team, which is the Center of Applied Geomatics. So this team is the team that I work with pretty much every day, ate with pretty much every day, dealt with every day. These are my friends now. And I really, really appreciate all that they did to help me deal with the language barriers and learning the technology and working together. I was able to work with I was able to go to the CPP workshop, which dealt with photogrammetry and laser scanning, also with ArcGIS, and the ethics of digital documentation. And so VAGME was one of those. She's in the back to the right with the glasses. She's actually one of the experts that dealt with ArcGIS. And right there in the middle with the big smile is one of my close friends, Satvika. She was a direct supervisor. Of course, we had Jay Shri, who's not pictured, who was over the program, and then also Jigna, who's not pictured, who's over the center. While in India, I was able to do some personal travels as well. And I was able to see different things like to the left to be the Gateway of India with my University of Alabama shirt on, Roll Tide. And then I saw India Gate also that was in Delhi. The gateway to India was actually in Mumbai. So I was able to go to different states. I actually got a chance to ride an elephant and to feed the elephant. And I think the elephant got a little too hungry because I was a little scared that he was going to get more than the biscuits in that moment there to the right, as you will see. And one of my bucket list items, I was able to see the Taj Mahal. We got a chance to visit that in Agra, right outside of Delhi. Had a wonderful time in India, wonderful time working with this group. They do a wonderful job in how they document heritage and how they tell the story of India. And there's so many different, gems in India that many of us will never know. You probably spend years there and not see it all. But one of the things I don't have pictured here that is a World Heritage UNESCO site is a step well called the Queen Step Well. I think it's like Raniki Vav. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but it is a beautiful step well that was built probably in the 1000s. And literally, this step well is still intact. It was not, it was, I think, discovered not too long ago. And one thing that you'll see in India right now that they're rediscovering these step wells, they're bringing them back online, and they're using these step wells to pretty much collect, natural rainwater and to be able to service the communities that deal with drought and are very dry. And that technology from centuries ago is able to assist and to help and really save towns, communities around India even today. It's amazing, all the things that I saw while I was there. Amazing opportunity to make great relationships, and had experienced that pretty much once in a lifetime. So thank you to World Heritage, to ICOMOS, and to all involved.